This is the Always Direct podcast, and we talk with movers and shakers of this world to learn about the ups and downs they went through to get where they are now. Let's get started with the show.
Hello, everybody. My name is John Rayon. I'm the host of the Always Direct podcast, and today I have Mark Moeller on today, and he is the president and founder of The Recipe of Success. He's a national restaurant consultant. Mark, thanks for coming on.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. So, Mark, this is such a good time to have a guest like you on because of all the craziness. And, you have an extensive history. You've been doing this for a very long time, over 40 years. And so we're going to go into your history and where you got your experience in this business and how you're doing and what you actually do, and if you're nationwide, worldwide, and are you slow, are you busy right now because of the corona? But let's talk about where you see the restaurant industry going for the next 2 years. Your personal opinion.
Oh, well, that's a very hard question to answer. There is so much going on right now, and since we don't have a handle on the coronavirus in general, it's going to be a very fluid roller coaster ride. So I think that 2021 will be a year of transition. It'll be a year where we continue to learn what we can do and how we're going to succeed. And every concept's going to be a little bit different. We're going to rely heavily on third-party applications. We're going to rely on pickup and delivery. It's going to be part of our business for the foreseeable future. And we're going to have a huge focus on our food and how well our food will travel because of that. And we're going to learn to embrace new ways of doing outdoor dining, especially in areas like Chicago and the New York suburbs.
Yeah. So outdoor dining is a pain in the butt for everybody, and the city, it makes it very difficult for us to do it. A lot of times permitting, and they're very strict on stuff. But I think they're becoming more lenient with this. But people say that this is it's gonna change the landscape forever. I feel like in 2 years, when I thought it would be over by now. So I don't know what I know. But if you ask me what's going to look like in 2 years, I would say it would look very similar to it is before Corona. It's just going to take time to go back to normal, where people forget about what happened and Corona becomes like the flu. You don't think so? You think it's going to change everything for permanently?
I think there's going to be an effect for a very long time to come. But I think a lot of it is going to be hidden. And what I mean by that is because I think that people are going to start to embrace, in order to do indoor dining, we're going to do UVC lights. We're going to find a way to ionize the air to help protect people from the virus that's floating through the air. I think our design is going to become more fluid so that we can adapt to changing capacities. And I think there's going to be a lasting change. And I think that it'll gradually go away over time. But I think in 2 years, it'll still be a big part of us, because I honestly think that into 2022, there'll be areas that have, mask mandates. We'll be wearing these masks and we'll be forced to.
Whoa. Really?
Absolutely.
Are you guys are listening? This is on record, my friend. You're saying in 2022, we're going to still be wearing masks?
Potentially. And I'm not saying everywhere, but I think
like in Asia, they still do. They've been doing it for years.
Right. But I think you're going to see some of that carry through. But, it hinges on this vaccine rollout. Not only the rollout, but it also hinges on how many people are not going to take the vaccine, because they're still going to be carriers. And I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be one, right? I can only listen to the science and listen to what I'm hearing, but that becomes a potential issue. And if we have this mentality in a certain area that says we're not going to wear masks and we're not going to get the vaccine, this is going to linger. And yes, it'll become like the flu, because we'll learn how to hopefully manage with shots like similar to the flu, right? But it's still going to take a toll. I think it's still going to be here, but it's also, you have to think it's setting this up for when and if there is another one down the line. And I think that's where the design, that's where the changes are going to be lingering. And again, I think a lot of them are going to be hidden. They're going to be, soft costs that you just don't see anymore.
Wow.
And I hope I'm wrong. I
hope you're wrong too, but you know what? Every guest that I've had has been absolutely horrific. I've been wrong on everything. So I really don't have an opinion anymore. I guess, and I'm like, you know what? Whatever I think, just do the opposite. So I hope you're wrong, but it seems like it's going to linger longer than anybody ever expected. So maybe we'll just kind of, time will tell, right? But you mentioned third parties and outdoor dining. I want to stay on third parties for a little bit because third parties is like the bane of my existence. I cannot stand third parties. I want them to all disappear, obviously, but I can't. It's like saying Amazon should go away too. You can't get rid of them. I'm in the restaurant business for 15 years too. Fast casual pizzerias, okay? Mainly carry out delivery. Some of them have like up to like 10 tables, but you order, you sit down. Nothing fancy. And slowly the third parties have encroached into the business, and we can't. It's like being a drug addict. Once you start it, you get all those orders, and you just can't get off of it. You don't know how to go back to where you can't imagine living without it anymore. So it's a constant problem. How do you deal with it? How do you recommend your clients deal with it? And do you like it? Are you for it? Give me the whole thing. Give me your whole spiel.
Okay, so it's a case-by-case basis. So, and what I say about that is it's good for restaurants in some ways that are on the lower end of the revenue scale, right? Because these third parties, what they really are, they're marketing machines. They're going to get your brand out to more people than you could ever do in that short period of time. So that works well for there. But I will tell you that I'm not a fan of third party and what it does to the restaurant bottom line. And what it does through the chain of command when that product goes from point A to point B. There's so many opportunities for failure and for displeasing that guest. Remember, this is hospitality. That's what restaurants are. We're in the business to exceed expectations and to give a great experience every single time. And when we don't have control over something, we have a big problem with that. Think about just for a second when somebody owns one restaurant and people say, oh, you do a great job, you're a great chef, you really should open up 2 and then 3 and then 4. They worry about how they're going to manage each step. And if they're worried about how they're going to manage each step, that means they're conscientious. So those are the people that will shy away for sure from that third party. But also taking into consideration that that third party eats up to 30% of your business. You can't sustain that in long periods of time. So what I do is I work with my clients to try and understand where they want to go and where their revenues could be. So I'll join a client that is in a smaller market that has $200,000-$300,000 in revenue, and they're like, help, I'm not making it, I'm barely surviving. So we have to look at a lot of avenues, including the third party. But we take a look at the third party and we tailor the deliverable to what the market's going to bear, and also so it doesn't take a huge percentage of the business. There's a local ordering third party. Now, they're more for aggregate as far as they're taking in the orders here in Connecticut. And with them, you can actually turn on and turn off how many customers you want to reach in one area. So that's okay. I'll introduce that. In fact, we introduced that to one of our clients, and they take 5 to 8 customers a day, and that's it. But it's an added revenue up to $500 to $600 a week. It's something that they can handle. But we've also honed their in-house delivery program. We don't do any third-party delivery there. We do third-party pickup, but no third-party delivery. And that's the hybrid that can work because you can still use a marketing machine if you have that in-house capability. But restaurateurs shy away from the in-house capability because they're like, well, if my driver stands around for 5 hours, what are we going to do? Right? Because it's wasted labor. So there's things that we have to do on that side as well. But I much prefer to develop a internal program that will be successful for the long term.
Yeah. Having your own drivers is key. The drivers that Uber Eats, it's ridiculous. They come in with no bags in the winter. They come in sandals, with their toesies sticking out. It's embarrassing. Yeah, absolutely. But some of the problems with let's stick on the third parties, because this is a big part of everybody's life. The sure. People in the restaurant business, it's a huge sticking point. They hate it, but they don't know how to get out of it. So, and then it's very easy for people to say, all you got to do is get the orders from Grubhub, get the orders from Uber Eats, and then promote to them to go on your online ordering website. And I say to them, yeah, you're not the first person to think of it, and you're not the last person. Okay, it's common sense to do that. But people will get addicted to the fact that they can have the website's so nice. I got to give them credit for that. It's because they can go on many different restaurants from one app, save multiple addresses, save multiple credit cards for business and for personal, and your wife's and your girlfriend's, and and you can, so it just makes it so easy. And then you can see who's open, who's delivering. Everything is made so they're not going to go to your website to save 5%, 10%, 20%. They may, but it's a small percentage. It's very hard to get most of them. So the only thing I tell my people is just raise your prices on them. I mean, just to offset the cost. And I know technically you're not supposed to, but everybody does it. I don't know about you guys if you recommend that, but I feel like that's the only way to survive it. What do you think?
Yeah. So first of all, you can't actually you can't target their clients, because those clients that are ordering from your restaurant, they're not yours. They belong to Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub. So you are, in fact, it's in your contract that you're not allowed to target them. You can't drop something in the bag that says, call this website, save $5. You just can't.
Oh, we do it all the time, but I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, but technically you're not allowed to.
Okay.
And so because of that, of course, I just lost my train of thought.
So yeah, you don't own the data. You were saying that you don't own the data. They own everything. So they, you go onto the website and you don't have the control like you used to.
Correct. And for the end user, it's all about convenience.
Yeah.
What am I in the mood for? If I'm in the mood for pizza and my kids are in the mood for burgers and my fiance, she wants to have vegan, well, guess what? I have to order from 3 different places, because there's very few restaurants that can satisfy all 3 things. And I don't know if you have kids, but when you have kids in the house, they generally rule. So when you have the third party where I can just go to an app and just say, okay, I want this, and I want that, it makes it easy, right? So that's the other challenge. And I get that, but it takes a marketing machine. Then you have to hire the right publicist. You have to have the best website. You have to do some investment into Google AdWords. You have to be able to get your name to the top of that search so that people want to come to you. And of course, then you have to deliver. You have to exceed that expectation with great food, with great service, so that people will get exactly what they intended.
So who do you work with mostly? Are you more fine dining? I looked through your website. You have everybody listed there, but who do you find yourself more working with? QSR, fine dining. Tell me.
So I focus more on primarily on fast casual and full serve fine dining. But you're right. I've run the gamut. I mean, I've worked with everybody from Dylan's Candy Bar to Aramark to the local bodega. So it's, for me, my goal is just to give back. I want to work with a restaurateur that really wants to succeed. So I've got the flexibility because I worked in every gamut growing up, so that I'm able to now work with them hand in hand. And they all need different things, which is great. And what I like about the full serve versus the fast casual model is when I teach about service, I teach a fine dining approach, and I package it for the concept that I'm working with. So if it's fast casual, we're just going to exceed expectations. 99% of the time, a guest doesn't understand why the service was so good. They just know it was that good.
Subconsciously. Correct.
So it's teaching those details. So I don't have, and everything cycles. So right now, I just finished up with a full serve restaurant. Just started actually on Monday with a new client that is fast casual. I'm in the process of opening a restaurant that's full serve. And I'm working with a incubator kind of, we work for kitchens, right? They target food.
Yeah, ghost kitchens.
Spaces.
Ghost kitchens. They're huge here.
Well, ghost kitchen, yes, but this one is actually more of a shared kitchen. So you can go in and you can rent 2, 3, 4 hours of space and time, and then you can create your sauce. You can create your prep for your ghost kitchen pizza concept or your food truck. Sure. Catering operations will be able to run out of here as well.
Gotcha.
So run the gamut.
Yeah, it seems like it. All right, so that's a great segue into your history. Let's talk about it. So you on your website it says over 4 decades. How'd you get into this business? How'd you get into this crazy world? I'm going to just turn off my fan. Excuse me. Tell me your story. Tell me your story and significant things along the ways that got you where you are.
Okay. Well, the simple answer, it's all my mother's fault. That's why I'm in this business.
Blaming mom, huh?
Yeah, well, God rest her soul. She was the director of housekeeping for a hotel in New Jersey, and I was getting ready to go to this big party, biggest party of the year for a 15-year-old where I was growing up, and we had planned it. She knew about it. I was the model citizen going up to that point, and she calls me that morning and says, "Guess what? The restaurant needs a busboy. Tell your father to go out and get you a white shirt, black tie, and be here at 4:00. Well, no, Mom, you gotta understand. I got the party time, remember? She said, "Did you hear me ask you? I told you to be here at 4:00. Be here at 4:00. Okay, Mom." And kind of the rest is history. So I started at a hotel. It was a Ramada Inn in Montvale, New Jersey. And I started off as a busboy, worked my way up to prep cook, dishwasher. I did a little cooking, server, bartender. Of course, I had to get into the housekeeping side of it because my mom was a director of housekeeping there. And they knew that if mom knew how to do it, I knew how to do it. Sure. So I spent probably 3.5 years there. And then as I was leaving there, I went on to an Italian restaurant where I started off as a server and brand new. So it was my first foray into opening up restaurants. We went, had a good, probably 3-year run there also. They actually, I think it was 19 years old, I was offered a partnership in it because the owner wanted to get out. He didn't want to run it anymore.
19.
He loved what I was doing. Yeah, 19. And I said, Jerry, I got a problem. He goes, well, what's that problem? I said, well, I got 2 problems, actually. I said, first of all, I got parents who are both educators who want me to go to college. But more importantly, I can't buy alcohol in the state of New Jersey. I'm 19. I got to be 21. And so, of course, he laughed. He understood. But then, I went on to cook. I cooked for a couple of years, and I went to Johnson & Wales. And Johnson & Wales is where I actually knew that I wanted to become a consultant. So 1987, I actually went out and bought 4 books from Barnes & Noble, all on consulting, not a restaurant consulting, just a consulting in general. I still have those 4 books downstairs in my storage area. But I read them cover to cover. I said, someday I'm going to do this. So after I graduated Johnson & Wales, I was in full serve restaurants. I switched over to Roy Rogers. So I spent 3.5 years in fast food, went from there. And again, I'm with Chock full of nuts. I'm with Cozy. And I ran up my career from being everything from just a manager to a general manager to a district manager, all the way up to director of food operations. I was Cozy's original director of food operations in New York. And as I was leading a company that I was working with in 2000, I had a friend of mine who said, I need some help out in Long Island. I need a nuts and bolts operator. Do you have time to come and help me? And I'm like, oh, this is great. So I'm leaving the company I'm with, and I was actually offered a promotion, but I couldn't relocate to Boston at the time. So I took a severance package. So I'm going to collect my severance package. My then wife and I, we were having twins in May. So I knew I was covered there. So I was able to go out and make a few extra dollars consulting. Absolutely loved what I was doing. The company that I was with, two brothers, they own Joanne's Gourmet Pizza in Long Island. We grew it to 5 locations and back down to 1, but they were such a dynamic group of guys, and they continue to innovate where they are, which is I love about them. I think that's what I love about the consulting industry, is to be a part of a concept that you can help innovate a little bit, give some advice to, and watch them grow and flourish. But I loved what I was doing, so I started to backfill that job and some smaller jobs, and eventually grew my business. I just started my 22nd year.
Okay, so at the time how old were you when you started doing your first consulting gig?
First consulting gig, I would have been
about
2000. So, 34.
Okay, so 22. All right. Wow. So you're not going anywhere else. This is where you're staying here
until I retire. And then when I retire and I want to slow down, I'm going to open up a half dozen bar and grills.
Yeah, that should be fun. Around your area?
Yeah, in the Connecticut, New York area.
Yeah. So how is you like living up there? You ever think about going south, becoming a snowbird?
No, not really. First of all, most of my family is up here, and I'm very family oriented. So, and that's very important to me. I used to joke, though. I used to tell my kids that they have to go to the 4 corners of the country, so that when I do retire, I'm going to get an RV, and I'm going to rent an RV, and I'm just going to go from spot to spot every 3 months. And the inside's going to look like a luxury, but the outside is going to be enough to embarrass them. I say that in jest, but right. But no, I enjoy the 4 seasons that we get up here. I enjoy the atmosphere. I like the vacation, sure, down south, but I'm not going anywhere.
Did you say that Joanne's pizza place, the one that you first helped, they got up to 5 and then they went back down to 1?
Yes. Yeah.
What happened there?
They got to a point where they wanted to get into a full serve restaurant. So they sold off the other locations so they could spend the 2 times to the original location, which is in Roslyn, New York.
Oh, so they sold them. They didn't close.
Correct. They sold them.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. All right. So, I want to go into you got a lot of experience. You worked your way up the ladder, and you figured out that working with a whole bunch of different types of industries can really make you more well-rounded, which is key. So if somebody's 19 years old listening to this and they say, man, I'd love to be a consultant, what would you say for them? The best way to approach that is go to college, get experience, a combination of the two. What would you recommend?
Combination of the two. Absolutely go to college. You need a foundation. You need to understand structure and systems, which college will give to you. But then you also need you need experience. So listen, this business is not about just walking in and saying, look, I can do this. In fact, there are people out there that give consultants a very bad name because they can say, I'm an out-of-work manager. I can help you. They sit at the bar, they dictate orders. I'm hands-on. I open a full-serve restaurant and they're there until 2:00 in the morning. I'm there until 2:00 in the morning. That first week that they open, there's a lot of restaurants that I work with. I'm there for 80 hours and I'm hands-on. I'm touching tables. I am leading by example. I jump behind the bar if I have to. I'll run food. If I need to run into the kitchen, I can do that. So I'm well-rounded in the experience and the approach that I took. And if anybody wants to be a consultant in any fields, they need the college background. They also need the experience. That's probably the experience is the most important thing you need in this restaurant business, because you have to be able to talk the talk, and you can't just talk. You got to be able to walk the walk. So if you can't talk and walk at the same time, people see right through that, and you're not providing value. You're actually hurting your business to line your own pocket, and I can't condone that. You have to be able to teach and speak from a point of knowledge. And you can have a niche, so you can be a chef consultant or a service consultant, and you may not be a broad consultant because you don't have that expertise. That's fine. Get the experience on where you want to be, and then be the best damn consultant you can be.
Okay, thank you for the advice. That's good. I'm sure somebody will get some value out of that. How many restaurants? What percentage of the restaurants are going to shut down because it's Corona shutdown? I mean, we haven't seen the end of it because the people are still in business, but they might be lingering. They might be at the tail end of it. So what's your opinion, and what are you seeing with your finger on the footprint, your finger on the pulse?
So there's been over 110,000 restaurants nationwide that have already closed.
Permanently?
Permanently. So I think of the existing restaurants prior to COVID hitting, we're probably looking at a good 30 to 35% of those restaurants will eventually shut down.
Wow. Big numbers, man.
They are big numbers. And, part of it is that there was a lot that were just kind of hanging on. And there's a lot of people that are living paycheck to paycheck. That's what this industry is. And until we do a better job educating our operators on how to save money, right, and to be forward thinking, we're going to continue to struggle. The good news is there's a lot of restaurants, believe it or not, that are in planning to open. So there are restaurants that will still come, but they will be designed to withstand the pandemic, because that's the other thing. Restaurants pre-pandemic were not designed to withstand a pandemic. They weren't designed, especially full-serve restaurants, they weren't designed for takeout. A chef wants you to start enjoying their meal within a minute or two of it being plated. When you have a full-serve restaurant and that food is going home, it's sitting in a plastic container or a box for a minimum of 20 minutes. And because of that, the food changes texture, bite, and flavor. So you have to be an exceptional chef to be able to deliver that home. The pizzeria guys and the fast casual guys, they figured that out for the most part, but we've also come to accept that if we order burger and fries, our fries are going to be soggy. We are, and we deal with it. But we're not going to do that from a restaurant that we would normally spend $100 at. We're just not going to, and they're not going to survive because people aren't going to go to them because they're not going to get that quality that they expected.
You guys have Ruth Chris by you?
I know we did. I'm not sure we still do.
Yeah, they closed down by us. I can't believe it. I mean, I'm a Ruth Chris lover. The one by my house didn't shut down, thank God. But there's a couple that are shut down, and it's scary to see such a big company shut. I mean, these guys are busy to shut down because of this. And then Laurie's, which is a famous steakhouse out here, and I mean, it's scary what's happening around us. But you're darn right. I would never order a $50 prime rib or ribeye and take it home. I mean, it's still cooking when you put it in a package, and then that medium rare is turning into a medium. It just gets chewy. Plus, why would you overpay? You can go to Mariano's and get it, and just go home and cook it. You have it fresh. That's the problem. That's the problem.
Well, that's a problem. And a lot of people can't go home and cook a steak. They just don't know how.
Well, they don't have the 1,000-degree oven. I mean, that really is what I couldn't believe when I found out. I was like, man, how do they get this charred crust? And it's 1,000-degree oven, 900 to 1,000 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's crazy. It's crazy. So now, are you seeing any of the fine dining restaurants that you work with actually matching the sales they did before by doing carry out delivery, or are they all down?
They're all down. It could be anywhere from 50% to 70%, believe it or not. But I will tell you that I do have a former client who is full serve, but he delivers a fine dining experience, and he's that type of chef. He's probably at 70-75% of his pre-pandemic numbers.
That's pretty impressive.
But he pivoted. He changed the menu. And because he knew how to make a deliverable from point A to point B, he's done a great job in his execution. So when you go home, that food is just as good as if it would be sitting, as close as it could be from sitting down, in the restaurant. He's done a phenomenal job, and he's done a great job with his marketing. And marketing is another key to success.
What do you recommend? So let's talk about, here's what I'm going to talk about. I want to talk about marketing. What you recommend for cute. Let's stick with fast casual, and then marketing, and then financials, and how to keep track of your financials. So marketing, what's your top 3 marketing strategies for fast casual restaurants?
Social media.
Okay.
Social media is.
Which one in particular?
I'm seeing Instagram is the biggest driver right now.
Yeah.
Depending on your demographic, some Facebook will help. I think you have to do the 2 in tandem, and you might as well, because they're linked.
Yep.
Twitter doesn't work well unless you're a food truck, in my opinion. So it's definitely the marketing side and the social media side of it. And it's not posting 5 times a week. It's posting 2 or 3 times a day, right? And being relevant when you do that. It's not just about taking a picture of a great sandwich and saying, hey, we have this today. It's talking about how you make that sandwich, what the quality ingredients are that are going into that, how it's going to taste when it comes out, and having even a guest turn around and do a testimonial when they bite into that sandwich and say, oh my God, this is the best sandwich I've ever had, right? And to talk about that. So you have to have the video interactive actions in everything that you do today. So I would say, again, Instagram, and then Facebook. We focus on a really well-designed website. It's a huge part of your marketing. And you have to have the Google AdWords, the keywords in there, excuse me. You have to make sure you can have ordering online, and it's interactive, goes right into your system. Attach an app to that, because a lot of people are still, we work with apps. We like apps. It goes back to that third-party thing. But if you have a favorite fast casual restaurant, you're eating there because if you're in a corporate environment, or you're a landscaper, blue collar worker, you want something quick and easy. I'm going to go to my favorite deli, my favorite fast casual restaurant, and say, order this. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to run right back out. And I think that what people don't realize is part of marketing that every restaurant, but especially fast casual, has to really focus on service. Service is a huge part of your marketing. Your use of proper etiquette, the please and thank yous. You have to have educated cashiers and sandwich makers and pizza makers. Your food and drink, how consistent it is part of your marketing. And people just say, well, marketing is marketing. It's all that external stuff. There's so much 4-wall marketing that you need to do and keep within your brand that is going to be huge to generate that revenue and that repeat revenue that you're looking for. So I think that's, those are keys in marketing. You can throw in atmosphere, you can throw in music, you can throw in the flow. The customer flow, again, is part of your marketing. You got to make it worthwhile and easy for somebody to get through your queuing line, because if you don't, I have a client who the goal is to get, and he's a sandwich concept, okay? From the time you place your order to the time you receive your order, the turnaround is less than 3 minutes. You can't go to a standard deli and get a sandwich in less than 3 minutes.
It's I don't think you can do it. You can't even go to McDonald's in less than 3 minutes. I don't think. Right. Maybe you can, but it doesn't seem like it sometimes.
And all these sandwiches are made to order. So there's nothing that's sitting on a shelf, right? Yes, the chicken cutlet and the eggplant and the grilled chicken, that stuff is pre-cooked and it's being held on a line, but it's made fresh. So it's constantly coming out. And then we're just assembling the sandwich. under 3 minutes. He delivers, I would say 98% of the time.
Yeah, that's some good advice right there. Do you ever hire public relations companies?
Oh, absolutely. All the time. All the time.
Really?
Absolutely. In fact,
I have never worked with them. Tell me about it. What do you do?
oh, I push my clients to bring in PR. And a lot of times I bring them under my own umbrella and then I manage the process. Public relations we talk about third-party aggregates. A good PR person will function as that aggregate. They'll do that type of marketing, whether it's a blogger, whether it's it's getting into magazines, whether it's getting into print advertising. They're going to help you hone your program to fit your demographic for your area, and most importantly, for your concept. They're going to help deliver externally what you deliver internally. They are huge.
We got to talk about that after we're done with this. I want to get some numbers from you, some recommendations.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, finances. All right. So a lot of restaurants. I've been in restaurant business for a long time too, mainly the pizza business. I got thrown in it. There was very little systems when I got into it. But one of the things I've noticed, and I have a lot of friends and cousins, you become you have a network of people. Nobody does their finances. Like they're all gut feeling financials, right? Yeah. It's about 30%. If you ask them what the real numbers are, they're like, I got like 12,000 in the bank, and everything's paid. I got to pay. I'm just like, whoa, So what software do you for fast casual? What software do you recommend to keep track of your finances? Because I feel like QuickBooks is a little confusing. It's like overkill sometimes. What software do you recommend, and what systems do you recommend to keep your financials in order when you're wearing a lot of hats and you're running around? You're actually in the business running. You're not like, choreographing, a chorus. You actually have to be there. Somebody doesn't show up, suddenly you're the cashier. Somebody doesn't show up, suddenly you're the driver. You're leading by example every day. So it's hard you can easily fall behind. What would you recommend to keep on track?
Well, the first thing you do,
tell me,
is you stop doing your own books and you hire a bookkeeper that has extensive experience in restaurants. That's the first thing you do. Listen, I'm an operator. I was partners in 4 different restaurant concepts as well. I never did my own books. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a bookkeeper. I'm not a finance person. Show me a restaurateur that is, right? We're not. So we have to learn to give up the reins and understand that we're going to spend a little bit of money.
How much? How much does it cost?
An average bookkeeper probably costs you about $300 a week. It depends on where you are. So a little less, a little bit more. It also depends on how much that they're actually going to do for you and how automated. So we talked about systems and how you manage that. So some of the software, so you can look at doing things like Restaurant 365, right? It's a back-end software program that goes into a myriad of POS systems. And you need a POS system that's going to calculate and control everything that's coming in. And then that POS system needs to talk to something else. So ideally, it talks to something like a Restaurant 365. And I don't have extensive experience with them. I just know that they're a very good aggregate. They've got a lot of tools for a restaurateur to use. And so that information then goes from 365 and it goes right into QuickBooks. So you can minimize the cost of your bookkeeper by automating your systems up front, right? There are systems, especially if you're a higher volume restaurant, you order from multiple vendors. So a sandwich concept may order chicken from 3 or 4 different concepts. But as an owner, we have to then compare pricing from all 4 of those, right? And then we have to turn around and say, who's got the best price? And then we're going to drive our business that way. There are systems out there that will bring all of your vendors into one place and they'll put it all on one screen. So you'll know that your 4 vendors, distributors for chicken are going to be right in front of you, $1.32, $1.29, $1.18. And it's all your specs. So you know you're going to get the same product wherever you go. You just know where you're going to buy from now, because buying at $1.19 versus $1.34, that adds up over time, right? So there's things that you can do to aggregate and simplify that process for you.
Yeah. But so Mark, that's what you could do. But when you go to your clients, you say, get a damn accountant to do it for you, who's good, who knows everything about restaurants, make your life easier.
Yes. Well, I say get a bookkeeper, but now there's obviously systems. You mentioned the word systems before. There's systems and structures you have to put into place in order to make your bookkeeper's life easier and really to stay on top of it. The reason why you want a bookkeeper is not because you want them to kind of manage your money, but yeah, you do want them to manage your money. You want them to let you know what you can afford and what you can't afford. Well, you're a restaurant owner. Have you ever gotten to the point where you didn't know how you're going to make payroll? Right?
When I first started, my account was always negative. I could not figure out how to get money. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. Money was coming in, but I didn't know where the hell I was going. Everybody was making money besides me. Let's put it that way for the first year.
Absolutely. So early on, one of my clients, he was a pizzeria actually. And so one of their vendors came to them, and of course he uses a lot of olive oil. He goes, if you buy a pallet of olive oil from me, you're going to save 50% of what you would normally spend. So what happens? He buys the pallet. He puts it in his basement somehow in different corners of it, right? He spent like $4,000. And then that week, he struggled to make payroll. Because normally he would spend $100 on or $200 on olive oil and just spend $4,000.
Yeah, he screwed up his cash flow for sure.
Correct. And that's the thing. People don't pay attention to their cash flow. So what happens is the cash flow situation when it comes to purchasing, we may be running a food cost of 28, 30%. But if we're spending 50% of what we make on food purchases and paper purchases, guess what our true food cost is? 50%. And that's what we don't take a look at. We'd rather order in bulk so we don't run out. And instead of saying, I'm going to order tights and order what I need. Now, there's always certain things like if you're going to buy Russian salad dressing, you can buy that in 4 1 gallon, or you can buy it in 1 gallon. Well, if you don't go through a lot of 4 1 gallon, even though you're saving a couple pennies per ounce, right? It's not going to affect your sell cost. It's not going to affect your food cost materially if you just buy 1 gallon. But you saved $15, let's say, right? And you do that on 10 products, that's now $150.
Yeah.
20 product, 3. And so it adds up.
Yep.
And so you have to stay focused on the details. This used to be a nickel and dime business, as you know. Now it's a pennies business. So if we're not focused on how we're purchasing and purchasing smart, that's going to affect it as well. So I'd much rather buy 1 gallon sitting on the shelf because it's going to last me a week and a half, 2 weeks, and pay an extra penny or two because it's not going to affect my bottom line like buying in bulk is going to affect my cash flow. You'll never get ahead if you impact your cash flow that way.
Okay. So get a bookkeeper who's controlling who's specifically for restaurants or has a heavy emphasis in restaurants. Don't over order on stuff you don't use in volume. Buy 1 gallon. There's no shame in that because it just helps with your cash flow. Unless you're going through volume, then it doesn't make sense.
Sure.
And then, so when you have a bookkeeper, right? I just want to go back to this. When you have a bookkeeper, dude, and then you said $300 a week, that's like almost having a part-time employee. I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot of money to pay somebody to do that for $1,200 a month?
Yeah, $1,200 a month. Well, think about this. If you do your own books,
which you won't do it.
Right.
You say you will, but you won't.
Right. And you won't do it, right? You're gonna fly by the seat of your pants. So, but how much time, if you do your books, your banking and all that, right? How much time do you spend a week? 2, 3, 5 hours?
Yeah.
And the people that are using a QuickBooks or similar program, they can be spending upwards of 10 hours. How much is your time worth? And are you better off sitting in the office, keep punching away at your computer, or are you better off spending those 10 hours in front of your guests and managing your employees and then turning around and increasing your revenue by $500?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You got to be a working manager. You got to be in your business. And yes, there's things that you have to do outside of the front of the house, but you have to be in your business. You have to be out front because you're going to catch things. You're going to fix a problem before it walks out the door. And that's going to save you, unequivocally a lot more money than just $300 a week.
Yeah. Good advice. I love what you're saying. And is there, if anybody's watching this and you want to go to the recipeforsuccess.com, and is there the recipe of success.com, I'm sorry.
Right.
And is there an email that they can contact you? Is it on the website, or do you want to give it over to?
There's a contact form, but if they want to call me, email me directly, it's Mark, M-A-R-K, at recipeofsuccess.com.
Mark, it's been a pleasure. I really got a lot of information. I hope to talk to you again. I hope to keep in touch with you. And And I think that anybody listening to this is going to be get a good head start, and if they're starting a new business or they're in the business. Appreciate it.
I appreciate that. It was a pleasure. I'm really honored that you asked me to come on. And I'd love to do it again if you're so inclined, but definitely I'd love to stay in touch.
I think we will. I think we got to go number 2 because there's a lot more to talk about, but I know you're a busy man. And so we'll split it up into 2 smaller chunks. I could talk, honestly, I could talk shop all day. I mean, like literally all day. This is what I live for. And you too.
Right. Me as well. The restaurant, listen, I can talk again all day long. I started this business again, 40 years ago. First 5 years were rough, but I haven't worked a day in over 35 years.
Hey, you love it, huh?
I absolutely love what I do. It's a passion.
That's good. Everybody, listen to that. Passion project. It's not even work anymore. All right. Peace, Mark.
Thanks for listening to the Always Direct podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.